And our guest speaker is here today, Jessica. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, how are you?
Very
Jessica,
good.
welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So our guest today is Jessica Hearn. She's an executive director of the Brookline Arts Center. The Brookline Arts Center is a visual arts center that provides classes for the greater Boston community and presents exhibits featuring local and regionally known artists with an emphasis on work by underrepresented and emerging artists. Before joining the Brookline Arts Center, Jessica served as artistic director and curator at the Juliet Art Museum in Charleston, West Virginia. Born and raised in New Jersey, she earned her Bachelor in Fine Arts at Lesley University in 2006 and her Master's of Fine Arts at the Massachusetts College of Art and Design in 2011. In 2007, she completed the printer training program at the Tamarind Institute of Lithography and went on to work as a printing assistant and later registrar to the Michael Mazur estate. Following graduate school, Jessica worked as printmaking lab technician and foundations lecturer at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. She later became a production printer and project manager at the University of Notre Dame's Segura Art Studio in South Bend, Indiana, where she curated the nationally touring retrospective exhibition, Images of Social Justice from the Segura Arts Studio. So with that said, welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much. Well, that covered a lot. Covered a lot of my background. But I just want to thank you so much for having me. With everything being remote, I've been with BAC since March, and because we're not gathering, there's not a lot of opportunities for me to sort of sing the praises of BAC and talk about everything that we do. So I really appreciate you asking me to talk to the group today. So I went to school here in Boston, but I've actually been gone for about 10 years. So my husband and I just moved back a little over a year ago, last December. We were living in West Virginia, where I was working at the museum, and had our second child and during the pandemic, and it was so crazy. And we don't have any family in West Virginia. All of our family is here in Lowell and New Jersey. So we just left our jobs and decided to move back to the Boston area. So took a little leap of faith, and it kind of worked out. I ended up finding this opportunity here at the Brookline Arts Center, and they welcomed me here. It's been wonderful. My husband works as, he's the manager of the Teen Public Art Program at the Cambridge Community Arts Center. He has a background, we met in art school here at Lesley University, which at that time was the Art Institute of Boston, which was right in the Fenway. And that is still abandoned. It's so sad because I drive by it all the time. So we both are in the arts, and we're so thrilled to be back in the Boston area and supporting the arts again here. So I think, my background has been in a number of different things, mainly printmaking. That was a passion of mine in college. And then I continued to work as a printmaker and a collaborative printmaker. And then I had the opportunity to start curating and working at the museum for the past 4 years in Charleston, West Virginia. And I heard Susan gasp at Charleston. Are you familiar with Charleston, West Virginia?
I have cousins in Charleston, and my family was at some event down there that I thought was kind of an art center food pantry event where they do it every year and they count beans.
Oh, I forget the organization, but that does sound familiar.
Yeah, they had a great time. It was a wonderful event. I have to find out more about it because it was an outdoor fundraiser.
But it's a very small city. It's a wonderful city. but yeah, pretty tiny. I think it's less than 50,000 folks in that city, but it is the capital city in West Virginia. And I do think West Virginia gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people have stereotypes of that place, and it's filled. There's a lot of wonderful folks there, and they are struggling, but it's a wonderful place. So we came back to Boston. I think that background, I had the opportunity to work at the museum and ran that museum for several years. So this combo of working in collaborative printmaking, which is very much about working together, working collaboratively, and then working in the museum, kind of came together and was the perfect, like coming to an art center was the perfect fit for me, and being able, because I really have been passionate about supporting our local community, and being in a community arts center and getting to know the people here has really been wonderful. And the mission of this place really reeled me in. And I don't know if everybody knows the history of BAC, but we have been here on Monmouth Street since 1968. Our building is actually the original firehouse of Brookline. And there's a couple that started BAC, Mim and Barney Berliner, and they started it in 1964, I believe. And they started with art classes out of their basement. They just wanted art education to be accessible. And that really continues to be our mission today. And they outgrew their basement, and the town of Brookline was going to demolish this building. So they convinced the town at that time to let them turn it into an art center, and it's been an art center ever since. So we have an old quirky building. And we actually recently found some old, a very old paper from, I think, 1889. That was the old fireman's register up in the attic. So lots of history here to this building. So please, if you haven't come by, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to give you a tour, and we have some upcoming events and things I'll tell you a little bit about. But the mission has stayed the same. We have classes. We have 2 studios, multi-purpose studios. We have a ceramic studio, and we have a jewelry studio, jewelry and metals. And we have classes all year round. We have classes like we do sessions. So we have winter, fall, winter, spring, and then our summer's really big. We do camps for kids, and we were able to resume those camps this summer really successfully, which was wonderful. So we have classes for all ages. We do classes for parents and children over ages 2 to 4, ages 5 to 17. We do school age classes all year round, and then we have a lot of adult classes as well. And then over the years, we've kind of grown to not just having classes that you can pay to take classes here at the center, but we really have been involved with a lot of other organizations in town that support Brookline and Greater Boston families. So because we're a not-for-profit, we apply for grant funding to support these classes so that we can provide scholarships for students. Anybody basically who comes to us with a need, who wants to sign their child up or sign themselves up, we can meet that need through either partial or full scholarships. But we also provide free classes for different organizations. So some of those organizations are Parent Child Plus, which supports immigrant families with children 4 and under. So they provide a host of social services, but then we can also provide a free art class for those families to kind of come together, socialize, and provide arts education for their children. We also support Women's Thriving. So we have a class. We haven't had it, I think, since the pandemic, but for about the past like 8 to 10 years, we were offering that, and we're trying to plan it for this coming year. And that's a class that supports women who've gone through any type of trauma or abuse, and we'll have one of our teachers there and then one of their social workers, and they work together to do a variety of journaling and art making. And then we work with the Bridge program at Brookline High, and that is a program for young adults with autism. So many of those young adults are just on the verge of graduating high school, a little younger, a little older, and so they're learning life skills. And it's an opportunity for them to socialize, come here, take a class together. Many of them probably won't live independently and are nonverbal, but it's a really wonderful way for our teacher to work with their aides and just provide an experience where they can come off site, leave the high school, and come and make art together. And that is like one of my favorite classes to pop in and listen to, because I think when you have people who are nonverbal, oftentimes they have vocalizations when they're excited. So we get to hear them throughout the center. And it's just like one of the most wonderful classes that we have. And then we have one more pair. Oh, and we're going to be partnering with Early Autism Services. So that's something, it's going to be a brand new partnership where we will have younger children on the autism spectrum, where each one of them, there'd actually be one aide per child. So it's really an opportunity, all these families that might have anybody who has special needs. It's hard on the families too, for the caretakers. So it'll be an opportunity for them to actually drop off their children to take that class, have aides available along with our teacher. So these are all classes and things that we offer for free to these families, in addition to our scholarships. So that's one of the main things that got me really excited about being part of this place, and supporting local artists through our exhibits, but also a lot of our local families. So it's a really wonderful place. If you haven't been here, I hope you can come by. We have an exhibit coming up in honor. Unfortunately, one of our board members passed away this year. Her name was Mika Horniak, and she was a longtime supporter of the BEC. And we are going to have an exhibit and auction. Some of her friends and family actually started a scholarship fund in her name here. And we actually have two funds. One is a scholarship fund specifically for children to take classes. The other one is an artist fund. So that will support, we have two galleries, so it'll support artist stipends so that they're paid for exhibiting. That's really important to us, that it was really important to Mika. And we have a public art program and an artist in residence program. So that will contribute to that. So we're gonna have a wearable art exhibit. We had an open call, so we have a number of really wonderful artists and craftsmen. It's going to be great. So it's going to be up for the month of March, and it ends with an auction and event that's open to the public on March 19th. You guys, I'm sure we can add you to our mailing list. You can get notice of this, and if you follow our social media pages, you'll see more about it. So basically, all of the work will be on auction. The artist will receive a percentage. And then the rest of it will go towards those scholarship funds. So it should be a fun night. It'll be recognizing this wonderful board member and her contributions, but also a way to celebrate her and come together and support artists as well. So hopefully you can participate. And I'm also very hopeful that we can stay open. And by then, maybe this COVID surge will give us a little break, hopefully. But I think that might be everything to cover BAC, but I'd love to just, hear from you guys. If you have any questions about what we do, please ask away.
You aren't underfunded, are you?
I would not say we're underfunded, but it's been a challenging time.
Okay.
So we were very fortunate that we got, when everything shut down, we did convert all of our classes to virtual classes. And we stayed virtual through the spring. We had some limited in-person for adults only in the winter and spring. And then we returned to in-person in the summer for our kids' camp. We have a lot of precautions that we're taking, just like a lot of other organizations, and it's worked well so far. We're starting another session at the end of January. I would say we're not filling the way that we have in the past. We're hopeful by summer that we will, but we did get 2 PPP loans, which really, honestly, that kept us open. So we're very, very grateful that we were able to get both of those, that we were able to continue to pay our staff, and kept everybody on board. I mean, really, that we're one of the organizations that might not have gotten through that if it had not been for those loans.
There were a lot of those.
Yeah,
a lot of companies, believe me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful that existed for us and kept us open. Because I can see, I mean, I'm new to the community, but I have people coming in who, they took classes when they were a kid, and then they're bringing their children back. So I think the generosity that we saw in gifts last year was really a result as people really value having us here. So that was a huge help as well.
And don't forget to apply for your EIDL rebates as
we
well.
got an EIDL loan as well. Yeah. So we have that. That's our sort of our cushion right now, because we're not out of the woods yet. So that's been a big help.
Have you partnered at all with Brookline Adult and Community Education?
We have not. We have not. Would you say that one again? What is the name again?
Michelle McGlone and it's Brookline Adult and Community Education, who has an extensive arts program, and I'm sure there's some synergy that might be.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's true.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'll reach out to them.
Jessica, I was thinking about some other community partners because Rotary does a lot of partnering with other organizations in Brookline, and it's a wonderful thing when we can work together. And you may have said this, so forgive me, but the Teen Center was another one that came to mind.
Yeah, I have reached out to the Teen Center since being here, and I think that I don't know if they're in a position right now to partner. I know that they have a really small staff. They were kind of struggling, as you know, as is just about everybody. But so we're kind of put that on hold. But yes, I have reached out to Alicia, as the director there.
Right. The other one, and I do not remember her name or the organization, but Marina or Elias might remember. She was a dancer for us when we did Dancing with the Brookline Stars. She had a child who was severely disabled.
Yeah.
Dawn
Dawn
Oates,
Oates.
Yes.
the Play Brigade.
Yeah. Play Brigade.
What brigade?
Play
Play.
Brigade.
Play. Play.
Yeah.
It was a group that they were severely involved kids and their families, and what they did was they organized activities. Her concept being, don't isolate these kids. She wanted activities that would be inclusive of the entire family, and would encourage activities that would include able-bodied kids as well as this challenged kids. She's quite a dynamic woman.
No, that's really helpful. You know, our classrooms are ability inclusive. We often have students of many different abilities all working together. And that's something that, you know, if we can get involved, I mean, partnering with other organizations is really, I just feel like that's so important to our relationships in this community. And it also is just really important to us to support all these children. I mean, the isolation over this past now almost 2 years has been really tough. And we saw, you know, a lot of the kids that came in the summer had not been in a classroom yet. You know, if you think about these 5-year-olds that were coming, they missed out on their pre-K year. They're about to go into kindergarten. And so some of them, this was the first time they were in a classroom. I mean, it was challenging for a lot of these kids. And we actually had, my favorite story from the summer is we had a young girl who hadn't yet been in a classroom, and she had selective mutism. So we actually set up a one-on-one session with one of our teachers who was going to be her teacher for the class she was signing up for. And she did really well. And then she took the class and she thrived. I mean, she was talking to everybody. She loved being in the classroom with other students. And she even was talking, one of our assistant teachers was a young man, and usually she doesn't talk to men at all. And she just fell in love with him. So and then they signed up for like 2 additional weeks of camp. And it was just like one of a lot of different examples of one, how vital the arts education is, and how it can really impact these kids. So it just was so, I mean, and my kids are 5 and 1, so like I love these little ones, but to see them come to camp every week and just thrive after what's been kind of a challenging time with a lot of isolation was really wonderful.
Yeah, Susan, again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep thinking of other organizations. Have you?
Oh yeah, please go for it.
Have you connected with Women Thriving?
Yes.
Yeah, we do work with Women Thriving, actually. Yeah, so we teach a class. We've been working with them for, I want to say, 8 to 10 years now.
Good.
Oh.
Good.
They're great. They're great. I know. And Ann Brackett, I just saw that she is retiring. Yeah. She's done some wonderful work there.
They're looking for an executive director, if anybody knows of one.
Marina.
I have a couple things. First one, I also thought about another organization. It's Gateway Arts. They're right on Harvard Street. And I believe, they work with disabled people on different art projects. So
with adults, I believe. Yeah.
So
You're not the first person to say it, and I had it on a list. As you imagine, my to-do list is quite lengthy, but I've had them written down for a while, and I know I need to reach out to them, but thank you.
Yeah, and another one I just wanted to mention, but it's just kind of, a thought. and I'm sure you probably have something on your list, but when the weather gets warmer here in Boston and, toward like late spring and summer, do you have any classes, for example, like, if it's like a painting or something, especially in light of everything that's going on, do you have them outside? Because you have a nice, like it's fairly small, but still it's beautiful garden. And then also, but there are like so many lovely places here in Brookline where, the class can be done, outside, just painting, beautiful sites within Brookline or in Boston. So
yeah, we actually have had some teachers. We had some that didn't run that we put out there that would be like yoga and art, or plein air painting, where it's outside. But we also like really do take advantage of our park here. So the town still owns this building and the park. It's Monmouth Park, and it has a little play structure out there that is up for being replaced in the next couple of years, which we're very excited. It's been there for a long time. But we utilize the park all the time. It's actually a really big part of our programming, especially
beautiful.
For the kids. So,
Yeah.
If they're here for a full day camp, even for like a half day, they have time out in the park and outside, and oftentimes the teachers will maybe plan a lesson out there or have them bring their materials outside. So yeah, we definitely try and take advantage of bringing them out as much as possible. And I will say, one other thing that I do want to pass on is that we are in need and we are looking for board members. So if you or anybody you think that you think might be a good fit for us, and want to have a conversation about joining our board, we would love to talk about it. So because we had one unfortunately pass away and another one left this year. So we do want to continue to grow our board. So, please reach out if you have interest or of somebody who you think might be a good fit for us.
Any particular needs on the board for certain types of expertise?
Yeah,
or
I think somebody in development might be really helpful. Right now we do have somebody who's a lawyer. We have somebody who works with Brookline Bank. And we have some artists and educators, but anybody in development would be really helpful. But truly anybody who just has a passion about the arts in the Boston area and in Brookline would be, potentially a great fit for us.
Do you have any
Okay.
textile arts that happen at the Arts Center?
We don't have any open classes right now. We have somebody who's been teaching batik for about, I think, like 30 years.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, so George Summers teaches batik. He has the same group of folks who've been taking his class for, God, I think it has been about 30. I don't know if everybody in the class has been taking it for 30 years, but quite possibly. But it's not usually open because he teaches the same group. But if you have interest, I know it's just sort of its own thing that has grandfathered in, and we just let that continue happening. But if somebody has an interest, I could certainly reach out to George about that. But it just really depends. Our classes really do depend on we have some things that are very consistent. Like we have mixed media classes for kids. So we'll have it'll be a theme, but we always have those classes and camps for kids. But a lot of the other classes are really driven by the teachers. So we see where their strengths are and what they're interested in teaching. And some of our most popular things right now are painting and drawing and illustration, as well as our ceramics and jewelry are pretty much always fill, especially ceramics. We have a wait list that's pretty long for that. And we're actually going through a renovation this winter to add a second kiln, because we can't meet the demand right now with one kiln. So we felt like it's time for us to add that so we can accommodate all the folks who want to take classes here.
Is there a student population that you're wanting to reach out to in particular, are teens or children or adults? I mean,
I think we have our children. We're not in short supply of getting children,
right.
But I do want to grow our teen base. It's one of those longer term goals of maybe we can develop a teen program. I have been in touch with Parks and Open Space, Brookline Parks and Open Space, and they just received a grant that we are going to partner with them on for some public art projects, and we want to have teens kind of involved with an artist, and then that would be hosted here. So I think that's going to be sort of the start of hopefully getting teens more involved with BAC. We are trying to make more effort to Greater Boston because we're right at the St. Mary's stop. So we're accessible by T. So people in Brookline, we have a huge support of folks and families in Brookline. But I feel like there's not as much of an awareness of people in the Greater Boston area of just how accessible we are through public transportation. So that's something that we're trying to focus on with our marketing efforts.
Jessica, I would like to welcome you back to Massachusetts and especially tell you how lucky we are in Brookline to have you at the helm. You were just
that's
phenomenal.
So nice. Thank you so much.
Goodness, what a magnificent program today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to say the same thing as Bo said it. We are lucky to have you. You sound very passionate to your work, and we're truly lucky to have you, Jessica.
Thank you. Well, I'm really thankful again for you bringing me here today and allowing me to talk about BAC because even though I've been here a short time, I just love it so much. So it's great to be able to talk about all the wonderful things we do. And please, Marina can share my contact info. You guys can reach out anytime. If you want to come by and see the space, we always have exhibits on display here at BAC and our other gallery in Coolidge Corner. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
What's the other gallery at Coolidge Corner?
I think that was one of the things. So we partnered about a year and a half ago. We partnered with Sanctuary Medicinals. That is a dispensary in Coolidge Corner. And they, they really want to make efforts to supporting the Brookline community. And I think a lot of these dispensaries need to find solutions so that, the towns don't want you to be able to kind of see in the windows and see what the business is. So they made it a gallery, which is a really excellent solution. And of course, being in the arts, I love that's a great solution to that. And we manage that gallery for them. So we put up 4 exhibits per year, and they provide funding so that we can pay the artists that exhibit in that space and provide programming that's free and open to the public. So really wonderful partner. It's a beautiful space. So if you have a chance to go there and check it out, it's open. That is just free, like open to the public during their open hours, which I think weekdays it's 10 to 7:45. So great hours. And we just put up a new exhibit that's going to open on Saturday. And it's 2 young men. It's a 2-person show.
Do you have several fundraising events throughout the year or a gala event, or how are you structuring that?
Yeah, we've had, so the past several years, we usually have a spring event and it's been called Art Off the Wall. And usually we have an art auction. We are going to switch that up this year. So in part, we're going to have this the event that I told you about, the exhibit and auction, which will fundraise for a specific purpose for those 2 funds. And then we want to have a spring, we're going to change up our spring fundraiser. We want to have something that's kind of family friendly. So we're just working on plans for that, trying to figure out what that might look like. But yeah, generally, so we're wondering if, it might work to have 2 fundraisers per year, one that's a little bit more adult focused and one that is family friendly where people can come with their kids. But we'll be posting more information about that in the next couple months. Well, thank you guys so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for coming and sharing with us all those beautiful stories.